Side dishes can be the most difficult to come up with, but let's talk about some of our favorites in this video. One of my favorite sides to have is carrots, and I love these carrots where you can get all different colors. I think these are so pretty. So we are going to roast these, but we're also gonna make a brown butter sauce to go on the top. I'm telling you, it is so delicious. You want to make this recipe. My oven is currently preheated to 400 degrees. I'm gonna take all of these carrots and put them in a bowl here. I've got some olive oil. We're gonna take some of that and drizzle olive oil on these. And then we've got some oregano here that we're putting on the carrots. And then I'm gonna take some salt. I'm gonna get some salt on these too, probably a total of a ½ teaspoon. And now we're just gonna take a couple of minutes and toss these really, really well. We wanna make sure that these get coated in that olive oil and the oregano and the salt. You can add other spices too, thyme, sage, dill, anything like that would be really good on these, but I just love them with oregano. I've got my baking sheet lined with parchment paper, and we're just gonna take our carrots and put them on the baking sheet. These are going in my 400 degree preheated oven for about 20 minutes. We're gonna make the brown butter sauce that's gonna go over the carrots while they are in the oven cooking. One of the best things you can do is add something like sage to this, and unfortunately I thought we had some and we do not. So it's just gonna be a brown butter sauce. To do this, I'm literally just taking butter and I'm gonna cook it until you start to see some brown bits at the bottom of the pan. So it's gonna be a little bit bubbly like this. At some point, after a couple minutes, you'll start to see little brown flecks in it, and that is exactly what you're looking for. And just for reference, I'm currently on about medium heat. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see this very well. I'm gonna do my best to show you, but do you see the little brown flecks in here? Oh, they're really starting to form back there. That is what you're looking for. When you get to this point, you know that you're about to pull this off. I'm so disappointed about the sage though, because really it's so perfect to have that. If you can find sage, just throw a couple leaves of sage in here while you're cooking your brown butter sauce. And then when you're done cooking, take this, you don't even have to keep the sage, you can just toss it. Turn the heat off. Transfer the brown butter sauce to this little glass dish that we have right here, just so that we make sure it doesn't overcook. So it's just gonna sit to the side until our carrots are done. These carrots are just so good. I'm telling you, a brown butter sauce just elevates vegetables and makes them so much better. Just so much better. It is so much easier to make than what you might think to make a brown butter sauce, and it is totally worth it. So give this a try if you haven't already. Grab yourself some sage or some thyme or something like that while you're out. You're gonna add those herbs, that flavor into the brown butter sauce, and it's just so good. All right, friends, for our side tonight, we are gonna make butternut squash risotto. This is absolutely one of our favorite. It does take a little bit of time to make this, but I promise you it is worth every second of effort. We're cutting up our butternut squash into cubes. I've cut up about 2½ cups of butternut squash. You can buy this already cut in your grocery store, or at least in ours you can. You wanna make it easy on yourself, that's definitely a good way to do it. I'm gonna top this with some olive oil. We're gonna toss that in just a second. I'm gonna add some salt and pepper as well. You can add as much or as little butternut squash as you like. We actually like quite a bit of it, so I go ahead and add almost 3 cups. We just really love it. I'm just gonna put this on a parchment lined baking sheet, and we're gonna put this in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. We've got some white wine. I've got 2 cups here of Arborio rice. We like to make a good amount of this because we love having it for leftovers the next day. I have 4 cups of bone broth right here. You could definitely buy any type of chicken broth, bone broth, whatever you're comfortable with, but this is hot. I like to go ahead and heat it up. I don't know if you can see the steam coming off. This will make sense in a minute, but it's easier if you just have it in a bowl and it's already hot. And then I have some butter here ready to go. I'm gonna start with about 2 tablespoons of butter here, and we're gonna transfer this into our pot. And my heat is starting out medium high. My butter is all melted. We're gonna toast up that arborio rice by mixing it in with the butter and just giving it a stir for about, I usually go about 30 seconds to a minute. Okay, I always make this in a pot, but I think that my daughter had a good idea, so we're gonna go with the pan. Okay, you're just gonna let this toast up until you start to see a few pieces get some color. I'm starting to see that ever so slightly, so we're gonna add in a little bit of minced garlic.
I like garlic.
I'm always cautious about adding it in too early because I don't want to burn the garlic. So we're adding in about a teaspoon or so. Okay, I don't know if you're able to see on camera, but I've got some pieces here that have a little bit of color right in this area. So we're starting to get a little bit of toasted, which is exactly what we want. I'm gonna take the white wine and we're gonna add about a half cup to this and just let it cook in that white wine for just a minute or 2. Okay, now we're gonna add about 1/2 to 3/4 cups of this right here, our chicken broth. We want this to come to a light boil, and we're just gonna keep it at that pretty much this whole time. So that's why I say if your chicken broth is hot, it's gonna take less time each time to bring it back up to a boil because we're gonna be adding in broth over and over again. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a boil going on. I do come and just mix it occasionally. I will say that risotto has to be babysat. So I usually will make this on a night when I'm gonna remain in the kitchen because I'm working on other things anyway. And then once the broth gets low enough, or it looks like it's really absorbed a lot of that, then I will add more. And we just do this over and over again until it's completely cooked. As you can see, we definitely need to add more liquid now. There you can see no more in there. And add another 1/2 to 3/4 cup. I want to tell you guys the inspiration for this side. We had a neighbor when we first got married who was a gourmet chef, and on our anniversary every year he would make us this beautiful elaborate meal, and butternut squash was one of the things that we had. He made it for us the first year, and then we said every year we want this because it was so good. There are recipes online, but this is completely from memory, just the way that he taught us to make it. Okay, after you put in the last bit of chicken broth, I will usually taste it when that gets to the point where it's, you know, pretty much absorbed. If you taste the rice and it's still a little bit crunchy, it's not completely done. I personally like to switch to water at that point, just so that it doesn't get too salty. All right, we are at a great consistency now, so we're gonna turn our heat down to low, and we're gonna add in the cheese and mix that all together. Okay, we're gonna probably start with a 1/2 cup of cheese or so, and then we'll add more if we feel like it needs more. This is that Parmesan cheese, that's probably, and we're gonna pull that butternut squash out of the oven and add that as well, but I wanna make sure the cheese is incorporated because we don't wanna overmix. We don't wanna overmix the butternut squash. To make crispy Brussels sprouts. And don't let this throw you off. If you don't like Brussels sprouts, but the last time you had them was when you were like 10 years old and your mom boiled them and just served you kind of like wet, soggy Brussels sprouts, hold on a second, you might want to try them again. If you roast them, if you air fry them, if you do anything other than boil or steam them, they are going to be so much better. We're gonna make a dipping aioli to go with these. So good. Okay, I've got the Brussels here. I'm just gonna cut off the very little tip where it gets like dry and kind of icky. So we're gonna cut these in half, and that's really all we need to do. And I'm gonna throw them into a bowl. So basically you don't want to cut off the whole stem because then it will fall apart when you cut it in half. Some of them, if they're really large, you might want to cut them into 4s. We're just gonna toss these in a little bit of olive oil, garlic powder, and a little bit of salt and pepper. Really, really simple. So about a half tablespoon, maybe not even quite that. Okay, I'm gonna do these in the air fryer. I will have a link to the oven instructions in the description box just in case you don't have an air fryer. All right, these are going in the air fryer at 380 degrees for about 6 minutes. Then we'll toss them and cook them for another 6 to 7 minutes. While those are in the air fryer, I'm gonna make up a quick aioli to dip these in. We're gonna make a half recipe of this because I didn't make a ton of these Brussels sprouts. So I'm gonna do about an 1/8 cup of mayo. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of olive oil. About a half tablespoon of Dijon. Okay, so you can use minced garlic in this or you can use garlic powder. My garlic powder is still out because I had it for the Brussels, so we're just gonna use a little bit of that, probably a half teaspoon or so. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of salt, just a pinch of salt. All right, and this is it. This can just chill in the refrigerator until the Brussels are ready. All right, y'all, pardon us while we go devour these. This is the forever Brussels sprout recipe. Our verse this week comes from Psalm 4:8. In peace I will both lie down and sleep. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. I hope you enjoyed these side dishes. These are absolutely some of our favorites. If you're new here, I'd love if you would subscribe and stick around. All you have to do is hit that red subscribe button. You can also hit the notification bell and you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. If you liked this video, I highly suggest that you check out this one right here. You're gonna get lots more encouragement and inspiration in the kitchen. I hope that you're having a great week. Bye.